You're listening to ADHD Support Talk. ADHD Support Talk is brought to you by addclasses.com. Visit www.addclasses.com to sign up for helpful online events and resources today. Well, I want to welcome you back to ADHD Support Talk. I'm your co-host, Lynn Idris, and I am a productivity coach. So I help overwhelmed professionals reduce procrastination, take control of their time, and get more done with less effort so that they have more time and more energy and more money for the things that matter most to them. So I am a woman with ADHD myself, guys. I've been there. I've done that. And I know that you can turn your life from one of more chaos and overwhelm to a life of more success and fulfillment. I believe that you can have that success yourself. You can learn more about me and what I do and the programs and services I offer at www.coachingadvantages.com. And I have my co-host and the founder of ADHD Support Talk with me today. Tara, welcome back, and introduce yourself to our listeners again.
Yeah, as Lynn said, I'm Tara McGillicuddy. I am the creator, founder of ADHD Support Talk Radio and a few other online ADHD resources. I'm also a woman with ADHD, a senior certified ADHD coach, energy healer, medium. I have several different hats. I help people get more done, and I also help them shift their energy. You can learn more about me and what I offer by going to my website, taramcgillicuddy.com.
Awesome. So we are going to talk today about energy. We're going to talk about energy, vitality, all of that kind of stuff. So where do you want to start, Tara? We were talking about this before we came on the recording, and I think it's a timely topic for me and lots of people.
Yeah, because I've been getting people asking questions, talking about how they just don't have the get up and go. They don't have the momentum, the motivation. What used to inspire them, motivate them, push them, help them get things done just isn't working anymore. And I think this is a common theme for a lot of people. I mean, women, hormones can play a big factor in that.
Absolutely.
Just men and women, life changes, just growing old, just the world kind of changing around us can play a big part in that. So when we don't have the same type of motivation, inspiration, it can put us into a funk and sometimes even like paralyze us.
Absolutely. And especially when we haven't learned how to get stuff done with low energy or low motivation, right? That's most of us with ADHD. Like, we create that pattern where we delay, we avoid, we postpone until sort of I always say the moon and the stars and the planets align, or we get that inspiration or the deadline, the crisis or whatever, something spurs us to feel motivated or to feel like we have energy to do whatever it is that we need to do. And it's a cycle that most people with ADHD can identify far too well. I know I spent a lot of time in that cycle myself for years. It's tricky, right? Because sometimes it's physical energy that we're lacking. Sometimes it's mental energy or cognitive energy that we're lacking. And sometimes it's, something else is going on. And sometimes it can be all of the above, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what might have worked for us 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or I don't know, a few months ago for that matter, may not work now. And it can be very frustrating to just be stuck. And maybe we've tried to do things or we don't know. And I think, looking at, okay, what might be going on? What are the possibilities? You can be like, okay, I can change it. Or it might be that whatever the thing is that inspired you, that you were motivated to do in the past, maybe it just doesn't make sense to do it anymore because your goals, your values change, your body chemistry changes, life changes. So I think that's something to look at is, maybe when you have that lack of motivation, lack of momentum, lack of energy in relationship to something, depending on what it is. I mean, there's some things we have to do, but maybe it's a sign that, okay, maybe it's not time to do it, or maybe it doesn't make as much sense to do it as it used to, or maybe find a different way to go about getting it done if it's even on the plate anymore.
Right. So don't, instead of, I think, beating yourself up and instead of feeling bad, take a minute to kind of pause and look at it analytically without blame and shame and self-flagellation and, giving yourself 40 lashes and all of that, and see like what's going on
Yeah.
and try to tease it apart, right? As long as we're stuck in that blame and the shame and the self-flagellation and all of that, I'm a bad person because I haven't, or, all of that negative thinking that we get ourselves, kind of stuck into. If you can shift into an analytical problem solving mode and try to detach just a little bit some of that emotional stuff, then you can tease apart, am I just tired, like physically tired? Is something missing from my life right now that is impacting my physical well-being? Am I, that all
Yes.
that typical sort of self-care stuff, nutrition and exercise and movement and sleep and all of that stuff we always think of. But also, like, am I doing things for me? Am I doing things that are fun? Am I filling my cup with,
Yeah.
things that I feel good about too? Or, is this thing still something that I'm committed to or that is aligned with my life right now? Because it's okay for your priorities to change. It's okay to not
Yeah.
really be interested in something. If it's not something that you've committed to and that you're really, what's the word that that you really need to do or that you really, really want to do, it's important sometimes to reevaluate, right? It's okay if
Yeah.
it's no longer something that you're connected to or committed to. Um, but I think that whole like realizing that it's okay to feel that way sometimes and to cut yourself a break and to step back and pause and, take a look at what's going on objectively without all of that, garbage that we do to ourselves in our mind is a really important place to start.
And, for some things, they're not getting done anyways. Your energy isn't going towards them. Maybe you put that on the back burner and reschedule a time to come back to it in the future, because
Mm-hmm.
if it's not getting done now, why, get frustrated and put that
Right.
negative energy towards it? And I know, we still need to clean our house. We still need to do our
Right.
taxes and all that things.
Mm.
But maybe like a passion project that excited you 2 years ago, you just don't feel as connected to it right now. Maybe you put it, reschedule another time to come back to it. Or you go back to, okay, what got me excited about it in the future, in the past? What got me excited about it when I started it 3 years ago? And maybe, just reconnecting to that can help you. Or maybe it's like, yeah, I'm not connected to that anymore. But I think, like what you said, the biggest thing is don't beat yourself up for it.
Right, right. As soon as you start beating yourself up for something, you're turning that thing into more than it really is, if that makes sense. I always use the metaphor with my clients. Like that's when we turn like, the bunny slippers under the bed into the monster under the bed. Right.
Yeah.
So you're feeling uninspired. And if it's not something that you feel like you really need to do, at the moment, hit the pause button for a little bit and come back to it and do something that does energize you and take a look at why did that thing matter to you to begin with? We talk a lot in
Yeah.
coaching about your why, connecting whatever it is that you want and need to do to your values. So why was that thing something you wanted to do? How is it going to move you toward a life that you want for yourself or that you want for your family? Or how is that thing connected to your values kind of at a deep down level, and try to reconnect with that a little bit. Sometimes that can make a really big difference and help you feel differently about the thing that you need to do when you can kind of re-energize yourself that way. And if it's something you need to do, whether you feel like you have energy for it or like inspiration or motivation for it or whatever, then looking at how you're approaching it is also going to help you a whole lot more than beating yourself up about it, right? As long
Yes.
as you're
Yes.
beating yourself
Yes.
up, you can't
Yep.
analyze and problem solve and get creative about how you're approaching something in a way that can be really helpful. So I think that whole, like, if you're beating yourself up, knock it off is a really important, because you're not
Yeah.
doing it
Yeah.
anyway, right?
Yeah.
Now you keep beating
Yeah.
yourself up about it and telling yourself you should do it. If you focus on that, you're making it even harder and harder to come back to the thing in a way that may actually work for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's no point in beating ourselves up with things. And we can get into that analytical type of frame of mind and look at, the practical reasons this might be happening. And then, oh, okay, it's not that I'm a bad person. It's not that I'm lazy. It's because XYZ. And yeah, I think, and then maybe from there, maybe if you choose to continue working on the thing, that, maybe you go about it a different way, or if your energy, your physical type of energy, mental energy is lower than it was before, you work with that, you take that into account,
Yes.
because especially as
Yes.
we age, at 50, you're a lot different than you were at 25. It takes more time to recover from things. When, the
Absolutely.
hyper focus, the all-nighters that we pulled in our 20s and 30s, at our 40s, 50s, and beyond, that becomes almost impossible to recover from that sometimes.
Absolutely. And it's not always just that, your body's older, it's that your life becomes more complex, right?
Yes.
Your life is way more complex at 40, 50, 60 and beyond than it was at 20 and 30, right?
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, the older you get, the more complex your responsibilities become and the more impactful it is when you do those kind of hyper focus sessions, or you
Yeah.
pull that all-nighter, or you take that crash and burn sort of path that really wears you down. I mean, it's harder to recover because there are more things that are impacted
Yeah.
in your life, that it's kind of like that trickle down, right?
But in relationship to that, which kind of is the opposite of what you said, is sometimes the older you get, when you get into retirement, you have
Yes.
less structure, less happening,
Yes.
which
Yes.
can have that similar effect because you don't have that structure. Your life is probably less complicated in some senses, that you kind of flounder. So that's something to take into consideration too when your life changes. If you retire, if you have less responsibilities, less things in your life, that sometimes can also impact your motivation and your energy and inspiration. So that's something to also pay attention to.
Absolutely, right? That all of that external activity, all of those external responsibilities, whatever it was, even like anytime your responsibilities change or you move into a different like season in your life, right? Say one of your kids goes off to college, or your job responsibilities change, or you change location. I mean, anytime you change something in your life that was giving you structure, that was giving you
Yeah.
direction, it's going to be a little bit harder for you to recreate that direction. And that's okay, right? You can feel rudderless. And sometimes when we feel rudderless, or with, I'm saying like rudder, RUDDER, when you feel like you don't have direction, or you feel like you don't have a rudder, something steering you, like that's okay, right? Then you can pause and you can regroup and you can start to gain your footing again in a different way. But there are lots of things that impact how we feel about the things that we
Yeah.
need to
Yeah.
do, and to make us feel different in terms of our energy and our
Yeah.
vitality.
And any type of change we have in our life, whether it's a big change, small change, that's a stressor. And for
Yes,
most of us, when we get stressed, we produce more cortisol, which can make us more tired. It can impact the way our brains work. We can become
absolutely.
less focused, more foggy. So that's another thing I think to really pay attention to. Did you have any type of new change in your life? Whether it's positive or negative, the stress can produce more cortisol, and you're going to be more exhausted. You're going to be less, um, as I'm saying it, more foggy, as I'm like saying it, like I can't come up with the word. Less focus. There we go. Less
There you
clarity.
go.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, again, like beating yourself up and feeling bad for not feeling enthused or energetic, or, engaged in something, or not doing something that you need to do, is the last thing that's going to help you,
Yeah.
change that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
instead of being stressed, and I know we can be stressed for a little bit, we don't like, not feel your feelings, but let's feel them, process them, then come up with a new plan, new course of action, or tweak the one you have, because sometimes it's just that minor micro change that you make into whatever you were doing that can make a world of difference.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, again, that's not something you can do as long as you're attached to all of that. I'm a bad person, and, I'm not doing the thing, or I'm not feeling good about the thing, or, whatever it is that you're telling yourself, that, again, I call it this blame and shame spiral. As long
Mhm.
as you're in that blame and shame spiral, you can't detach and
No.
change change direction in a way that's going to be really helpful. You can't analyze, you can't problem solve. And that's a
Yeah.
really important thing to remember. Yes, I know everyone has stress. Everyone, and you can't see me, but my hand's up. Everyone has times when it's harder to do the things we need and want to do, right? And that's okay. I mean,
Yes.
you feel how you feel. Tara's exactly right. We don't want you not to feel how you feel. You
Yep.
can feel bad about it, but not stay in that blame and
Yes.
shame
Yes.
mindset, right? And nobody feels good when they're not showing up in the way they want to show up, or in the way that they know they're capable of showing up. I mean, that's a human need to show up, to be kind of in sync with your intentions and in sync with your capabilities. But if you stay in that, self-flagellation, blame and shame, self-talk, that's going to keep you from being able to move forward. So feel it, acknowledge it consciously, and then work hard to let go of it, because hanging on to it is counterproductive. Absolutely. That's a really, really good point, Tara.
And related to that, I think one of the biggest things that I didn't bring up is that self-forgiveness is essential, because we can, go to that, get into that practical point, makes sense. But a lot of times we don't do that. And what can lead us to that is self-forgiveness. Yeah, okay, we didn't do what we wanted to do. So instead of beating ourselves up, let's just forgive ourselves for whatever reason, whatever the reason was you didn't do what you wanted to do or thought you should do. So I think that that's a big key with this, with the energy and lack of luster, or whatever you want to call it, is self-forgiveness. It can be very helpful.
It's huge. And like, to say that it's huge, maybe a little bit of an understatement, but I also recognize that it's not easy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's really, it's not easy. It's a pattern most of us have developed for decades. We don't do something the way we know we can, or the no way we mean to, or the way we think we should, and then we go down the spiral of beating ourselves up, and it is absolutely positively counterproductive. So acknowledging it and letting it go and forgiving yourself, so that you can try something new, try something different, and change your direction. You also can't replenish your energy if you're constantly beating yourself up.
No, you're
Right?
not. No.
So
Typically you can't, because your brain chemistry won't allow you. If you keep beating yourself up, thinking all those negative thoughts about yourself, it's almost impossible to, improve things.
absolutely. So one of the things I often do, and I encourage my clients to do, is to ask themselves what they need. Like, what do you need right now? Rather than thinking about what should I be doing, or what am I doing wrong, or what am I not doing? What do I need right now? Maybe you need a break. Maybe you need some time off. Maybe you need a little vacation. Maybe you need some time doing something that you enjoy, or something that you're good at, or something that is a talent or a strength for you. Maybe you need to connect with somebody or something, or, just be still for a little while and quiet. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I forget often, is that I do need quiet time,
Yes.
not even with music. I just need a little, kind of silent time every now and then. So asking yourself, what do I need right now, is going to get you a lot further than what should I be doing right now? Or,
Yes, yes, yes.
I think that's important as well. That's part of that self-forgiveness. I think these are all really important things to remember. But Tara, do you have any last thoughts? Anything else you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think kind of related to what I said about self-forgiveness, be kind and gentle with yourself. And you're not letting things go. You're not making excuses, but being kind and gentle with yourself is just going to make a world of difference, instead of beating yourself up. And be patient with yourself. I think kind, gentle, and patient with yourself, I think, are like the final words I want to leave you with today.
Kind, gentle, and patient. I think that's tremendous advice. Absolutely. And one we could probably all use a little more of. Well, thank you so much, Tara. Tell our listeners again how they can connect with you and learn more about what you do.
Yeah, you can go to my website, taramcgillicuddy.com, where you can find more information about me and the products and services that I offer.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, everyone, for your attention. Thanks for joining us. If you have questions, thoughts, insights, we'd love to have you join us in the ADHD Support Talk Facebook community. Connect with us, share your thoughts, share your ideas, ask your questions. Let us know how we can support you better on this podcast with episode topic suggestions, guest suggestions. As always, we want this to be helpful and we want you to find the support that you need. So thank you again for your attention. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on ADHD Support Talk Radio. Bye for now.